Hey, what is going on, guys? This video today is going to be the much requested sensitivity and settings update video. Out of all of the comments I get on my channel, without a doubt the most common comment is some variation of what sensitivity do you play on, or did you change your sensitivity, or why does your sensitivity look different in this video. So that's why I try to do a video every few months where I show you guys all of my current sensitivities and settings and go into a bit of detail on why I use what I do. It's been about 4 months since my last sensitivity update video, so I thought that with Season 5 coming to an end shortly, and Season 6 right around the corner, now would be the perfect time to do it. Obviously, I didn't change all of my sensitivities and settings, but with some recent gameplay changes, I've been forced to change a few major things. Also, this video is going to contain a few other things that you guys commonly ask for. I'm going to show my locker, talk about my controller settings, as well as answer some of the other general common questions I get asked about my Fortnite gameplay in general. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright guys, so the first thing we're going to discuss is my X and Y sensitivity, and I have a feeling some of you guys are going to be a little let down by the fact that I have not changed either of these since the last update. I'm still rocking 7X and 6Y, and even though I'm sure some of you guys were hoping I had switched it up, I really believe that it's a good sign that I've stuck with the same sensitivity for so long. What would be the point of using and trying to learn a certain player's sensitivity if they just continually switch it every few weeks? Even though I'm a strong believer that there's no such thing as a best sensitivity in Fortnite, I sure feel like 7.6 is as close to that as possible. It's fast enough to where you have the speed to track enemies who are moving very sporadically, while also being precise enough to hit the majority of your shots. And yeah, it definitely isn't as great of a building sensitivity as something like 10.10 or 10.9, but if you're a good builder, you'll easily be able to hold your own and consistently outbuild even the highest sensitivity of builders. Also, like I've said a million times before, it takes a very special type of player to even be able to control aiming on 10.10 sensitivity, let alone be consistently accurate with it. So that's why I haven't changed my X or Y sensitivity in the last 4 months, and honestly, unless a gameplay change is implemented that affects X and Y sensitivity specifically, I really just don't envision me changing either of them anytime soon. Next topic of discussion is my updated targeting sensitivity, which has basically just replaced ADS sensitivity, even though it's exactly the same thing to my knowledge. This is the first major change of this video because I've bumped this down significantly since my last sensitivity video. Last time you guys saw, I was rocking with an ADS or targeting sensitivity of 0.53, but now I'm all the way down at 0.43. This change was pretty much 100% driven by the recent update to controller sensitivity from a few weeks back. I made a full video on what exactly that patch did when it was released, but for the sake of time, it basically made ADS sensitivity feel faster on both Xbox and PS4 due to a reduction of aim assist as well as some other things. I tried sticking with 0.53 for a few days after the patch, but it seemed clear pretty quickly that I was no longer as accurate as I needed to be with it. Then I tried going down from 0.53 to 0.48, and although it did feel a little bit better, I still felt too out of control. So finally, I settled on 0.43 and I've stuck with that ever since. That aim assist change is pretty massive, so if you feel like your aim has been really off for the last few weeks, I would strongly recommend following in my footsteps and trying a lower targeting sensitivity. Another somewhat major change I made was bumping my scope sensitivity all the way down from 0.45 to 0.25. Like I mentioned in the ADS sensitivity discussion, that patch that Epic did really did some crazy things to sensitivity. I knew when I lowered my targeting sensitivity, it only made sense for me to also lower my scope sensitivity as well. I don't do a ton of sniping, but when I do, I actually like the lower scope sensitivity better because it just seems a lot more precise. Safe zone is the last thing I want to discuss from this section of settings and sensitivity. In my last settings video, I had the safe zone at the default value, which is 1.0. Now I've moved it all the way down to 0.05. If you don't know what safe zone is, it's basically a setting that moves all of your in-game overlays to the edge of your screen. Things like the mini-map, inventory, names of your teammates, all can be moved further to the edge of your screen by messing with your safe zone. I just want to point out that sadly safe zone is pretty much going to be different for everyone, since pretty much everyone is going to be using a different size or type of TV/monitor. So I would definitely recommend experimenting with your safe zone value if you haven't already, and definitely don't just copy mine, because what works on my TV will probably end up just looking awful on your TV. I've found that pushing those in-game overlays as far to the edge of your TV as possible really opens up the middle of your screen and will help you catch some guys out of the corner of your eye that you may not have in the past. Alright, so moving on to our next page of settings, I'm basically going to go one by one just talking about which ones are important and which ones aren't. Sprint by default, I know some people have this on and think it's a cool little setting, but I personally don't mess with it, so I just have it off. Same thing with sprint cancels reloading. I feel like this honestly does more harm than good, and sometimes it'll make you sprint in the middle of a fight, so I would personally recommend having it off. Tap to search/interact, this is one I've actually turned on since my most recent sensitivity update. Not a huge deal, but it basically just makes it so that when you're opening a chest or reviving someone, you don't have to hold the X button down the entire time. You can just tap it and it'll continue to hold it down for you. So it just saves a little bit of time, but not a huge deal. Toggle targeting, you want to have that off. Reset building choice, you obviously want to have that on, and same thing with aim assist there, obviously want to have that on. Edit mode aim assist, I actually get questioned on that a little bit. I have this off. I just feel like it makes editing a little bit smoother without the aim assist on it, and especially with that new editing update that console received that made it a little bit easier. I just personally prefer it off, but again, not a huge deal either way. Turbo building you obviously want to have on, and auto material change you also obviously want to have on. The final thing I just want to touch on that isn't pictured here is one of the new settings. I believe it's called auto sort consumables, and it basically just makes it so that anytime you pick up like a mini shield or a big shield, it'll defaultly put it all the way to the right of your inventory. Now I know this is going to sound crazy, but there was actually a little theory going around in the community that that setting actually bugged your aim assist, and even just on the very slight chance that that is a bug in the game, I have it off. Again, probably isn't, but better to be safe than sorry, I guess. So final two things from the setting page real quickly, brightness and colorblind mode. I have my brightness at 0.79, but again, this is one of those things that kind of depends on whatever TV or monitor you're using. So even though people ask me for this every once in a while, I would just go with whatever looks best on your TV, even though I have mine at 0.79. And colorblind, again, I don't use this, same deal as my last settings and sensitivity video. I guess there's some non-colorblind people out there that mess with this because they think it makes the game look better or it's easier to spot people, but again, I'm not colorblind, so I personally don't mess with it at all. So now the last part of this video is going to be a showcase of my locker in the background, because I know a lot of you guys like to see that stuff, while I quickly rapid fire go through some of the most common questions I get asked about Fortnite gameplay and just my setup in general. So first up, what monitor do you have? I actually use a BenQ 24-inch monitor. I'm serious, I looked around through all the papers and like my drawer, and I looked around the monitor. I couldn't find the exact model anywhere, but it's just a BenQ 24-inch monitor. I think it goes for around $150 on Amazon. Great monitor, super quick response time. I would highly recommend it, and I believe any model would work perfectly. Next up, what controller do you use, and do you use any paddles on it? I actually use an Xbox One Elite controller with no modifications other than one paddle on the back lower left side of the controller, which is bound to the A button for Xbox, which I believe is the X button for PS4. Obviously, I do that to jump and shoot at the same time in Fortnite and every other shooter video game that I play. What server do you play on? People ask me this all the time in my Twitch stream, I guess because they want to try to stream snipe me. I only play on NAE servers, so there you go, good luck. Now you guys can try to stream snipe me. What headset do you have? The only headset I use are Astro A40s, which I personally believe is hands down the best headset available for gaming at the moment. And the final question I'm going to cover in this video today is one that is asked so commonly: why do your guns glow so brightly in your gameplay? Now, honestly, I didn't know the answer to this question for the longest time, and I'm still not 100% sure my answer is correct, but I'm about 99% sure that it's simply because I have an Xbox One X console. I don't think there's any setting inside of Fortnite. I don't think it's anything with my monitor. I don't think it's anything I do intentionally. I think it's literally just because I have the Xbox One X, and it looks differently than it does for people playing on the normal Xbox. So I hope you guys enjoyed all of the sensitivity, settings, locker showcase, frequently asked questions. This was kind of a housekeeping video that I can now link to anyone that asks any of those questions contained in this video. So be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.